If you're always telling yourself that you're the victim, and if you're always carrying yourself like you're the victim, you won't feel like you have any work to do. Yes, someone may have wronged you in the past, but how has that changed you? Who have you become because of what has happened to you in the past? Hey girl, welcome back to my channel. My name is Trinity. If you're new here, today I'm going to be sharing with you 10 mindset shifts that have changed my life. I'm a strong believer in the fact that if you can change your mind, then you can change your life. You have to be able to change your thoughts and shift your thoughts into a more positive way of thinking in order to actually accomplish certain things. A while ago, I noticed that my mind often goes to the negative in a lot of situations. So I really had to reprogram my brain and my way of thinking and shift to a more positive way of thinking, because the negative thinking wasn't doing me any good. So like I said, I'm going to share with you 10 of the mindset shifts that have changed my life over the past few years. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and let's get right into the list. Number one, I actually learned this one in therapy. I had a therapy session one day, and I remember just like crying to my therapist, telling her that I hated feeling the way that I was feeling. I was very angry. I was very resentful. I was very sad. I had a lot of seemingly negative emotions, and she kind of changed my perspective on those feelings by saying this: when you're content with life, you sit still. It's pain and anger and confusion that push you through and push you forward in life. And if you think about it, it's actually true. When you're happy with everything that's going on in your life, you don't really make changes because you don't feel the need to make changes. It's not until you have those negative emotions that you start to think, okay, I gotta change something, I gotta do something, because you're trying to propel yourself forward and get yourself out of whatever that situation is. When I look back on all of the things that I have gone through in my life, whether it's in relationships or friendships or my career, it's so funny that now I'm so grateful for those moments. Because had I not gone through those things, I probably would not be sitting right here talking to y'all. I wouldn't feel the need to have a YouTube channel teaching women how to improve their confidence and how to improve their self-esteem and how to just become a more well-rounded person, how to figure out who they are, and how to navigate through different difficult situations in their lives. Everything that I went through in my past literally pushed me to this moment. I had to be pushed out of my comfort zone. It was anger and pain and confusion and bitterness and resentment that made me grow into the person that I am today. I wouldn't have even started therapy if I didn't go through those situations. I wouldn't have noticed or realized a lot of the childhood trauma that I had. I wouldn't have realized how much of a toxic person I once was. And I wouldn't have healed those parts of me in order to become the person that I am today. All of those situations have built character in me. They have built strength. They have built resilience and also hope, because now when I go through certain things, I don't think it's the end of the world. I know that everything that happens for me and not to me. And that brings me to the next mindset shift. Number two, things don't just happen to you, but they happen for you. I already have a video on victim mentality where I go a little bit more in depth, but I'll give y'all the overall synopsis of what this one means. Very recently, I have noticed that a lot of people don't move forward in life because they're so busy playing the victim role. They have convinced themselves that they are the victim, and in some cases, you may be the victim, but you can't keep telling yourself that you're the victim, and you can't keep acting like the victim, because if you do that, you don't make the necessary changes within yourself that will pull you out of that situation that you're in. In that video, I told a story about how I used to be in a very toxic relationship where I was constantly getting cheated on, and it was just a whole lot of not fun stuff going on. Just very toxic. We argued all the time. I was yelling at the top of my lungs. I was breaking up with him every other week. And then very soon after that relationship, I got into another one. And this person wasn't doing anything close to what the first guy was doing. But I only knew how to go from 0 to 10. I didn't have no in between. So whenever he did any little thing that triggered me in the slightest, I was going off. And I had a mindset at that time that made me think like, you know what I've gone through. I've told you everything that I've gone through. Why are you triggering me? I was not holding myself accountable for the ways that my past relationship had changed me. I was so busy being the victim because technically I was in that situation that I came into my next situation and made someone else the victim. I had taken on so many toxic traits and toxic ways from that first relationship, and I didn't even realize it, because no, this was done to me. You know what happened to me. You know what that person did to me. You know how they treated me. That explains why I act this way. But I can't live in that forever. If I lived in that forever, I would have never changed into the person that I am today. Now, my boyfriend would say I'm a very easygoing person, I think. to be in a relationship with. And it's because I stopped being the victim. I took accountability for how that first relationship changed me, and I did the necessary work to become better. If you're always telling yourself that you're the victim, and if you're always carrying yourself like you're the victim, you won't feel like you have any work to do. Yes, someone may have wronged you in the past, but how has that changed you? Who have you become because of what has happened to you in the past? 9 times out of 10, if you have had any trauma in your life, it has affected you in some kind of way, whether you want to admit it or not. But in order for you to be in a better situation and to actually stay in a better situation, you have to do the necessary work to become a better person and to deal with that trauma that you have been carrying. Nobody wants to walk on eggshells with you. I know somebody did you wrong. I know somebody dragged you through the mud, but now you're becoming the person who drags everybody through the mud. Do what you gotta do to fix it, because you're not the victim anymore. Accept that certain things have happened to you and grow from them, because things don't always happen to you, they happen for you. Like I said in the first one, certain things have to happen in order to push you out of your comfort zone and for you to grow. We gotta go through a little bit of suffering sometimes. Nobody wants to go through certain things. Nobody wants to have certain things done to them, but this is how we grow as people. Number 3, one day or day one. We're always putting stuff off, saying that we're gonna do it one day, when one day can be today. We put stuff off because we don't really feel 100% prepared. We're scared to fail. We're scared to be a beginner. We're scared to look stupid. Just a whole bunch of excuses. But really, waiting does not change any of those things. You're going to be scared to do it no matter when you do it. If you're going to look dumb, you're going to look dumb no matter when you do it. Regardless of when you start, you're going to be a beginner. Some of these things are inevitable, and some of these things are things that you've just created in your mind and they don't even really exist. There's really no perfect time to start anything. You have to just start. I remember saying, one day I'm going to have a YouTube channel. And I got tired of constantly saying, one day, one day, one day. So one day I just picked up the camera and did it, because I decided that that day was going to be my day one. Like I said, putting it off does not change whatever you believe to be true. And if you're afraid to start something because you don't feel 100% prepared and you want to do a whole bunch of research before you start, just do it. Because I'll be the first to tell you that no matter how much research you do, no matter how much information you gather, you will still have to learn more things along the way. There's no amount of preparation that will make you do something perfect the very first time. You have to be a beginner at some point. You might be a very good beginner, a very advanced beginner, but you still have to begin at some point. And you will always learn more as you go. I always say this, you learn more on the journey than you do at the destination. And that brings me to number 4. You learn more on the journey than you do at the destination. This is something that I had to tell myself over and over and over again with so many different things. Because when you have a goal in mind and you think you're working towards that goal, it's very easy to get discouraged along the way, because you keep thinking about that end goal and you keep thinking about the fact that you're not there yet. But I had to train myself to always think about the fact that if I'm not there yet, there's still things for me to learn. And I would hate to get there and not have learned all the things that I needed to learn to keep me there. Everything that you learn on your journey to whatever goal that you have, all of those things are the tools that you need to keep you at that destination. If you get there and you don't have the tools, whenever problems arise, you're going to get knocked right back to where you were before. I don't ever want to go somewhere and have to go right back to where I was just because I didn't want to enjoy the journey that was supposed to prepare me for that destination. We always want things to happen overnight. We always want to be an overnight success. We're part of the generation that wants things to happen super duper quick, and it's unrealistic. And not only is it unrealistic, but it doesn't benefit you at all. When I first started my channel, I started with a vlog. If that vlog had blown up, I probably would still be a vlogger. And being a vlogger was not a part of my purpose. This is my purpose. And there were so many different things that I tried on my way to this point. I tried different editing styles. I tried different thumbnail styles. I tried different ways of wording my titles. And I finally found what works for me, because I had to try a whole bunch of different things. But if the first thing I tried would have stuck, I wouldn't even be here. And this is what was actually meant for me. I was supposed to be sitting down talking to y'all about how to improve your lives in different aspects. I was supposed to be talking to y'all about how to change your mindset and how to just become a better version of yourself. But I was trying to take the easy way out and make vlogs, because I figured, okay, I can just go about my day-to-day activities and pull my camera out whenever I want to and just record what I'm already doing. I don't have to have a whole setup and make notes and really plan out my content if I'm doing vlogs. But that was not meant for me. But like I said, had those vlogs blown up, I would have just stuck with that and I wouldn't be here fulfilling my purpose. Number 5, everyone benefits from me putting myself first. I used to think it was selfish for me to put myself first. I used to think it was selfish for me to do certain things, especially when I had my son. I thought it was selfish for me to do certain things for myself that didn't really include him or have anything to do with him. I used to think it was selfish to have me time if you were in a relationship. I just never really saw the value in putting myself first. But it wasn't until I had my son, honestly, that I realized that I cannot pour from an empty cup. I have to be full in order to pour into all the people around me, including my son. I breastfed him for 14 months. If you're not new here, then you've probably already heard this story, but I struggled so bad with eating and getting in 3 meals a day when I was breastfeeding. I lost so much weight. I'll try to insert a picture if I can remember, but I got so small and I'm already a small girl, so it was not cute in my opinion, but I just wasn't making time for myself. I wasn't getting my nails done. I mean, granted, I also didn't really have money at that time, but I was just struggling. Like, I didn't feel like myself. And I know when you have a child, you're never really going to go back to your old self. You kind of got to figure out this new version of yourself and reinvent yourself. But he was, I'm not even going to say my son was my number 1 priority. He was like my only priority, and that was a problem. He could not be my only priority because if I wasn't happy, I couldn't do what I needed to do to make sure that he was good. If I was not healthy, he would not be healthy, literally, because he got his nutrition from me. And my therapist told me that I had to start taking better care of myself, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually, so that my son and everybody else around me could actually benefit from having me in their lives. When I needed a break, I made it known that I needed a break. Because if I didn't, I would have resented everyone around me. When I needed alone time, I made it known that I needed alone time. But overall, self-care is not selfish. You have to take care of yourself. You have to have alone time. You have to be an individual. Y'all know I always say this. Outside of all of your titles that you have, all the roles that you play, you have to be you first. And you have to pour into you and who you are outside of all of those roles first. Number 6, if you don't have it yet, then you have yet to become the version of yourself who's ready for it. We get so impatient when it comes to the things that we want, and we don't know how to take "not right now" as an answer. We want what we want when we want it. But honestly, you have to train yourself to believe that things happen when they're supposed to happen. And if you do not have whatever it is that you want yet, it's because you have not learn the things that you're supposed to learn in order to have those things, or you have not become the person that you're supposed to become in order to have those things. I have trained myself to believe that anything I want that is not in my possession right now, it's just a not right now. It's not a no. It's a not right now, especially if I know that it's something that I'm supposed to have. There's still things that I need to learn. I still got to learn some lessons. I still have to change some things about myself. I have to become a better version of myself in order to have that and keep that. Because like I said, you don't ever want to get something or get to a certain point and have to go back where you started because you didn't learn the necessary lessons that you were supposed to learn in order to keep it or stay there. If you've been single for years, that doesn't mean that you're never going to have the man that you have in mind. It just means that there are still some things that you need to learn before you get in that relationship, because God knows that if you get in that relationship right now, you're gonna do something to mess it up. You still got some trauma that you got to deal with. You still got some wounds that you need to heal. You still have some exes that you need to get over. You got some plan that you need to get out of your system. God delays things for our benefit. He doesn't just withhold things from us just because. We're going to be becoming the version of yourself that is supposed to have those things. Number 7, you are the master of your mind. I used to think negative thoughts all the time. I really used to let my limiting beliefs get the best of me, and I didn't really believe in the power of training your mind to think positive, which is funny because that's what this whole video is about. But basically, I didn't know how to perform mindset shifts because I didn't realize that I actually had power over my own thoughts. I thought that my thoughts just kind of happened and I didn't really have anything to do with them. But at some point, I realized that the negative thoughts that I had were coming from things that I have at some point said to myself or things that people have said to me. And when those things are repeated over and over and over again, your mind recognizes that pattern and starts to replay them back to you. So you have to figure out how to replace those thoughts with more positive ones. So do the exact same thing that created those negative thoughts. Do the same exact thing. All it takes is repetition and change behavior to send a signal to your brain saying that, okay, this is what we're going by now. This is what I want you to repeat back to me. Replace that old thing with this new thing. Once I became the master, well, I'm not even gonna say once I became, because I've always been the master of my own mind. But once I realized that I am the master of my own mind, I was able to basically rewire my brain. I started telling myself the opposite of what I had told myself for so long. And not only did I start telling myself those things, but I started acting like I believed that. I started doing the things that people do when they believe those things. Number 8, I've said this one before, but you are not a tree, you can move. You are not planted anywhere for your whole entire life. You can get up and move and change your mind and change the way you think and change the way you speak. You can change anything you want at any time. I hate when people complain about things and act as if there's nothing they can do to change it. Yes, sometimes certain things are out of your control, but a lot of the time there are things that we can do to change our situations. And moving doesn't necessarily mean physically moving, but it can be like mentally moving on, deciding that something is not serving you and making a decision to change that. There's a quote by Tony Robbins that goes perfectly with this. It says, "The strongest force in the human personality is the need to remain consistent with how we define ourselves." You can literally change how you define yourself at any moment. I have reinvented myself so many times because life called for that so many times. I could not stay the exact same because if I did, I would not have grown. Whenever a version of myself no longer serves me, I create a new one. And that is growth. You do not have to be consistent with how you've been identifying yourself. You do not have to be consistent with anything that no longer serves you. I hate when a woman is in a relationship and she decides that something no longer serves her, and people on the outside say stuff like, well, you didn't have a problem with it when you first got with that person, so what? I'm not the person that I was when I got with that person. What that person is doing no longer serves me. So I'm deciding to move on with my life and find something that actually does serve me. You can decide at any moment that you don't want to be with a man who does not romance you. You can decide at any moment that you don't want to be with a man who cheats on you all the time. You can decide at any moment that you don't want to be with a man who does not believe in the same thing you believe in spiritually. You can move at any moments. You don't have to be stagnant. You can change your mind. You can change your thoughts. You can change what you want. As long as you have the will and the determination to do it, you can do it, because you are not a tree and you can pick up and move whenever you like. Number 9, feeling is healing. A few years ago, I went through a breakup and I told myself that I was going to go at least 3 months not talking to anyone, well, not dating anyone, because I knew that I had spent so much time with other people and being in relationships since I was a teenager that I did not know how to be by myself. And I also realized that although when I got out of my previous relationships and ended up in another one really fast, I wasn't looking for someone to be in a relationship with. It just kind of happened. Although that was true, I never got a chance to really feel my feelings from my previous breakups because I always had someone else there to kind of cover that up. Not saying that I was using them as a cover up, but that's what it ended up being. I never really had a period to sit with myself and sit with my feelings and sit with my sadness, because along came someone else who kind of covered up those feelings for me and made me feel happy and whole again. I never took the time to put the pieces back together myself. And at this particular stage in my life, I knew that that would not serve me for my future relationships and my future self. So I had to learn how to feel and to deal with my feelings. Like I said before, as humans, we like to avoid sadness and anger and confusion and all those other nasty feelings at all costs. We don't want to go through that stuff. We like the fairy tale endings and we like the happy part of the story. All we want to experience is happiness and happy feelings and good feelings. But you cannot heal something that you don't feel. Covering something up is not healing. You have to do the work. And sometimes doing the work means feeling all of the feelings. Sometimes doing the work means crying every other day. Sometimes doing the work means isolating yourself so that you can deal with yourself. I wanted to take a nice period of time just sitting with myself and sitting with my thoughts and sitting with my feelings and intentionally not using someone else to cover up what I was feeling. I had to experience that sadness because that was the only way I could work through it. At some point, when you just cover that stuff up with something else, it comes out, and it comes out in a moment that you don't want it to come out. Sometimes it blows up in your face. So you have to take the time to really work through whatever it is that you're feeling. And number 10, the last mindset shift I want to share with y'all is, why me? No, why not me? Now this can be taken two ways. Oftentimes when something negative is happening, we think to ourselves, why me? Why is this happening to me? Why is God letting this happen to me? Why is God allowing this person to do this to me? But really, why not you? Why can't it be you that experiences the suffering? Why can't it be you that experiences the heartbreak? What makes you any better than anyone else? Why can other people go through things and you can't? Why can't you be the example? Why can't you be the one who has to go through something in order to be able to share your experiences with someone else? I accepted the fact that I was just the guinea pig in a lot of situations. Like, I used to sit and think like, God, why are you letting this happen to me? But I realized that I had to go through that stuff in order to be able to talk to someone else about what they're going through. I had to experience certain things so that I could relate to other people. And this doesn't only apply to negative situations. I used to be the queen of self-sabotaging. Whenever good things would happen, I would think to myself, why me? Especially if a good man came along, I would think to myself, why me? Why is he choosing me? Like, what's the catch? When really, it should have been, why not me? Why don't I deserve this type of man? Why don't I deserve this type of life? Why not me? And if you're famous for self-sabotaging, then I know that that probably hit home, because that mindset shift was very, very crucial to my growth. I had to really believe that I deserved certain things so that I could stop asking, why me, when good things happen to me. So as always, I hope y'all enjoyed this video. I hope some of these mindset shifts resonated with you. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.